On this episode, we talk drinking at Disney and a whole lot more with Professor Daniel Miller. Today is November 30th, 2021, and this is episode 413 of the Main Street Magic Podcast.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I am your host, Jeremy Stein, and I will very shortly be joined by not only my lovely wife, Rhonda, but Daniel Miller, Professor Narcoossi himself. So we will get to them in just a moment. But first, make sure you check us out on the web at mainstmagic.com, as well as follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at mainstmagic. If you've not done so already, head out to Facebook and search for the Main Street Magic community and ask to join. And if you hit that subscribe button, you're going to get brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. But if you want even more content, which includes in-park, resort, at-home live streams, discounts on Main Street Magic merchandise, there's so much more. You can go to wonderlandcrew.com and check out our Patreon group. And if you visit msmfriends.com, you can check out our wonderful partners and go ahead and get your Christmas shopping started or maybe finished, depending on when you started in the first place, I suppose. But if you're getting ready to plan your next Disney or Universal vacation, maybe you're looking at going on a cruise or just traveling pretty much anywhere else in the world, head to msmears.com to learn more about our wonderful travel partner, Melissa Pilgrim, with Ears of Experience. Now, before we dive in today, I want to give a little bit of background and backstory to today's episode, as well as maybe a little behind the scenes on some other episodes that we do. So Rhonda is not currently with me as I am recording this introduction. I will record the outro at the end of the episode as well, just by myself, because she is at work all day. This is Monday. We recorded this episode actually last Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, as we were on site at Fort Wilderness on Clementine Beach with Daniel Miller. And so sometimes depending on timing, if we are maybe doing an interview, we don't want to waste the guest time by doing the whole introduction read, or if it's a Monday morning and Rhonda starts work at 10 a.m. on Mondays, and sometimes we have to record, just based on our schedule. And so a lot of times we will not do the full intro, sometimes the outro. And so there are episodes, and I hope you don't realize it, where I introduce Rhonda, she says, "Hey guys," and she is not in the room. I've snipped out that little "Hey guys" clip from her in case timing and schedules just don't work out, and I have to go back in post-production and do this sort of intro. So that is what I'm doing today, piecing this together after recording, 5-6 days ago. So that's how this one will come together. But finally, before we do get into our incredible conversation with Daniel, and this is literally one of my favorite episodes and guests ever, I did want to apologize to Rhonda, who is not currently here, but I did say this in person because I really kind of commandeered this conversation on the Main Street Magic side. I've been a big fan of Daniel's for a long time and his Drinking at Disney book, and I was so excited to sit down with him. And we went into this with no preparation, no questions, ready to roll. I just wanted to sit and have a conversation. And so I did apologize to Rhonda for kind of taking over on our side. But I thought Daniel and I kind of just hit it off, and we had such a blast doing this. We are going to have him back on again in the future for sure. And I'll make sure that I do not take over the way that I did for this one. So I did want to put that out there. But with no further ado, here is our conversation with the one and only Drinking at Disney master, Professor Daniel Miller. Dan, thank you so much for joining us today. Call you Professor Dan, Daniel.
I mean,
what do you prefer?
When I'm being serious, we got Professor Daniel Miller. Come on now. Let's have some respect.
All right. I got it. So Professor Daniel Miller, we are sitting outside Fort Wilderness Resort. We are down at Clementine Beach, overlooking the beautiful water. It's a beautiful, beautiful day here in Florida in November. you've obviously been here. Where does
Let me stop you
Fort
for a second.
Wilderness
Is this
rank?
how all your first dates start? I can see why you were able to snag such a beautiful wife, because this first date is phenomenal. I'm at the beach. We're at the beach at Fort Wilderness for our first date.
It's beautiful, and I don't think you heard, because we as soon as we picked you up on the golf cart, which your chariot awaited as we grabbed you from the front, I don't think you heard what I was playing over the speaker, which I looked up a Yacht Rock Christmas.
Ooh.
So I kind of wish I had pumped it a little bit more. I don't know. It was a lot of Kenny Loggins, which I didn't know was yacht rock, but maybe I'm not as familiar with it, of course, as you are. But what a spot we're at here. And seriously, man, appreciate you so much coming down. We've been trying to do this for a while now. Big fan of yours and everything that you do, and social, and your book, of course, which we'll get into. Yeah. But I kept saying, and you agree, we didn't want to do this over Zoom.
No.
That's no fun. Let's do this in person when the time is right. And you made the time right, my man.
We're not mid-level managers at a at a corporate firm, so no, we can do this in person.
Mifflin. This is not what
it's not Dunder Mifflin Infinity. We're good here. Well, first off, before we get going, I need to do it. I want to talk about the jingle from the beginning of the show. It is phenomenal. First off,
thank you.
One of the top 10 songs I've ever heard in my life.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just curious a little bit more about that. Was that you?
No.
Who's singing?
No. So, I am a huge Scrubs fan. Right? Giant fan. Probably watch that show more than anything.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if you've checked out Donald Faison's and Zach Braff's podcast, Fake Doctors, Real Friends.
I love them both so much. I have not, but
you got to check it out.
I'm in love, so I need to.
So in the start of the pandemic, they got together and said, we're going to do basically one of these rewatch podcasts. Were big, right? The Office kicked it off, and so they were going to do a rewatch podcast. And so they launched it really during the lockdown portion of the pandemic. Donald Faison records from his closet. Zach Braff records from his beautiful California home. Yeah. So anyway, so they started to have these different segments, and they literally go through every single episode from episode 1, and they rehash it, and they tell stories, and they go off the rails. And so they started doing a couple segments, and a listener reached out to him who is a music teacher out in the Midwest and said, I'd love to write a jingle for your show. And so he wrote this jingle, and I'm like, that's pretty cool, man. So I hit him up on Instagram. It's at TravyWavy on Instagram. And I was like, dude, what would it cost to do a jingle? And he got back to me, and I was like, let's make it happen. Let's just do it. That's an investment I'm willing to make.
Worth every penny.
Worth every penny.
I don't know what it was. Still
I'll tell you off air. So the best part is he had no idea who we were. He wasn't a huge Disney fan or anything. And so I just sent him some bullet points about Rhonda and I, about the show, said, here's an episode you can listen to. He came back. What you hear is 99% of what he originally wrote and recorded. The only thing is he first said Jeremy and Rhonda are a little bit fond of Magic Kingdom. And I said, is there any way you could change that to Disney World so it's as a whole?
Right.
And he was like, I didn't know anything was outside of Magic Kingdom for Disney World. Did it. And it's a hit.
It's so good.
We were in Hollywood Studios one day, and this couple comes up and starts singing it behind us.
They did.
And we were like, this is possibly the coolest moment of our entire life.
I'm not surprised at
so,
all.
Yeah.
If you like ridiculousness like I do, it's
the best.
First thing I heard of the podcast was that. I'm sold. This is it. I'm in.
I love it.
If this is what we're going for, I'm in.
Oh, and I think it's a great way just to start it off and have that fun and excitement. And I'm so glad you asked that, and you bring that energy here as well. Where does your love of theme parks come from is my first question, because we got to catch up a little bit on the chariot on the way down from the front down here to Clementine Beach. You've been here about 20 years, living in Florida, lived a few other places. Where is this absolute love of, and it's theme parks, it's not just Disney. You are an Orlando theme park and beyond.
Of course. Yeah. But
Stan, am I too old to say Stan?
Stan.
Can I say it? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I think it works good. No, it started from, as a kid, we would come on vacation, but not that many times, honestly. Came a couple times when I was real young. And then once I got to high school, I got to start really putting some thought into where we go, middle school, high school. And we came, basically 3 big vacations. And I'm the kid that I would collect the maps because, I envy these kids today. They get to grow up with YouTube and stuff because I had maps, I had the brochures, and I would just sit there, at night instead of watching deep dive YouTubes on theme parks, I would just read the maps and plan my next trip, which was years away. I mean, maybe every 2 years because we would go to other vacations too because my parents aren't as into it as I was. But so I did that. And then what happened was when I got married, we came here for our honeymoon.
Aw.
And we went just, full boathouse. I mean, you know how you come in and you're just like, you don't look at any checks.
Doesn't matter.
You're doing 3 meals a day. And I left, as we were leaving, I got thinking, now I'm an adult. How am I ever going to do other vacations and Disney? And so I ended up moving down here because I'm like, that's the best way to do it. Is to
That was literally the reason?
one of the
In a
reasons.
sense,
We
I
had to
mean,
pick
but that was
somewhere.
major. Oh, sure.
We had to pick somewhere.
Wow.
And
That's
so
awesome.
Florida was one of the reasons because then you're like, 'cause I still want to be able to take my vacations elsewhere.
Yeah.
But then if I'm blowing all my money on vacations elsewhere, then, well, how am I ever going to afford coming here?
Right.
And that's where sort of the idea came from. And we had the opportunity. So that's how that happened the first time. And I grew up though with Cedar Point. That was my first love of theme parks. Started Cedar Point. That was my home park until I moved here. But so
are you a thrill ride type of guy then, coming from Cedar Point?
I was a member of ACE, the American Coaster Enthusiast, when I was younger.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
And now
That's
Now
awesome.
I'm just old,
Yeah,
So
no.
I can do like one,
Right,
I'll
right,
do
yeah.
one and then I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm one.
Rip Ride Rocket is getting to me nowadays.
It
Like
does.
that, it hasn't. Even Everest, I rode last week again and was like, oh, my back.
I remember going to Rip Ride Rocket with Joe Mikado, the
Yes.
farm stuff.
Yep.
And we go there, and he was working there at the time, and he got us right on, and he's done, and he kind of winks at the guy. Can we go again? And I was like, nope. We could have gone again without even. They were going to give us. You could probably go 10 times in a row,
Right.
And I was just like, are you kidding me? Well, no.
Yeah.
One was great, and I'm done. But
That's
so
funny.
yeah, I still love those rides, but.
Well,
That's awesome.
I love that thought of you having these theme park maps and studying them and all, because I mean, not to just jump in too early, but that seems like the foundation for then your book and Drinking at Disney. And I mean, if you haven't heard of this book, I'm not sure where you've been, but what I love about this book so much is that it technically is supposed to serve as more of a guidebook, that you might be going to a resort or a park and you go, let me check what's there. But
Right.
to me, you can read it from cover to cover.
Well, absolutely. I really, when Rhiannon and I sat down to do the book, first off, I was on social media for a long time and kind of built a decent following about drinking at Disney. And because that's one of the things that when you live here, I'm not going to go do a bunch of rides, but I like being outside. And when I have a day off, I'm going to have some cocktails. So there's no better place than to have some cocktails outside at
Absolutely.
Disney, drinking at Disney. But we finally decided to do it. And we started thinking, so what's your, you're writing a book. What's your competition for this content? And it's free information on the internet.
Right.
Wow.
Every single bit of every single bar, it's all free on the internet. So just being a guidebook, I mean, you don't really, it's what are you going to do about it? So really it's actually meant to be like a bar crawl. We literally we start at one end and we go, it's like going on a bar crawl from one end of property to the other and stopping at each one and just talking about the pros and cons of each one. And that's really where we came from. It's the story of the bar crawl from one end of property to the other. And my favorite part that I sort of took the reins on we call them the drinking plans.
Yes.
Which is because to me, logistics around this place is the number one challenge or the number one factor.
Yeah.
It's because you can, when you're in Animal Kingdom, you can go to Dawa Bar, but it's how do you plan out these cool spots throughout your whole day? And so the drinking plan is how do you start at one end and get to the other and hit as many cool spots along the way as you can.
Right.
And that's really what I figure my specialty is I spend a lot of time here. I call it recon, coming down, taking the boats, taking the monorails,
Nice.
taking the buses, and I call it recon because I know sort of the best way to get from Port Orleans to the Contemporary, because it's not easy.
Right.
Yeah.
To get from like the Port Orleans to the Contemporary is not always the best, but you can do it through a fun way, hitting bars along the way.
Of course. Yeah. And I'm trying to think like the process of doing all that with the research, the time it took. Like when was kind of like, hey, here's an idea to finally put this together, and then the length of time to say, well, we've got to hit every bar and lounge.
Well, thankfully.
Well, hello
It's
there.
the best. Oh man, it's the best.
It's the best sound ever.
Yeah, it really is. So between Rhiannon and I, especially when we started the book, obviously we had a lot of knowledge we already had, a lot of experiences that we already had. A lot of them were easy. You know, Tambu Lounge is going to be easy. We don't have to go visit Tambu Lounge just to write the book. We don't have to visit Dawa Bar just to write the book. Those we've been to a million times. But what we did have to do is say, like, well, shoot, I haven't been to that, the Banana Cabana at Caribbean Beach in 10 years. Or I've never been to Crockett's Tavern, things like that.
Right.
And so we did sort of get a list going of where do we have to go that we've never been. And Disney Springs was what we started when Disney Springs was in the middle of all their adding new places. So that was a huge chore was Disney Springs. I say chore, but really. And it was kind of good because Rhiannon really focused a lot on the drinks themselves.
Mm-hmm.
She's more of a connoisseur, and I'm more of the place. Like that was sort of my focus is the location. Just to me, what makes drinking at Disney special, the first thing you see when you say somebody that's not a Disney fan is you're like, why would you drink at Disney? They have booze across the street at Chili's half price. It's the location, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's the feel, the look, the everything else that goes around that. So thankfully she was able to really bring home the drinks portion, and I was able to really bring in the aesthetic, which is what I feel is more important than anything. I mean, I can get a beer anywhere, but Jack Lindsay's, like, really, you're gonna get a beer, but also in the Indiana Jones world. I mean, that's pretty sweet.
Oh, it's completely different.
If you don't mind me cracking another White Claw.
Go for it. You do what you need to. We're getting into this so much more, and Rhonda, I know, has questions because here's one I think that we have switched recently. I was a beer drinker, she was a wine drinker. That's kind of what we would do throughout parks, and we really switched to more of a liquor based situation. If you have any pool anywhere, we are trying to get a drink named after Main Street Magic because we do Tito's flat water in a splash of cranberry. It's like our go-to now because it gives you your little bit of vodka, but it also keeps you hydrated throughout the day, which is important.
So what is it again? Can you say it again?
We do Tito's, usually double
we call
Tito's.
It flat water because I've said Tito's water and a splash of crayon, and a couple of times I've come back with bubbles in it, so soda water, which I don't want that. I want tap water. So somebody said, a bartender one time said, "Oh, you want flat water?" Yes, please.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I feel like I've started saying that now, just because it's more of a, okay, she wants flat, no bubbles, whatever. So
and bartenders are usually like, for the first time, kind of like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But now we have listeners that are ordering them, so we're like, we
really
need to get that
good.
on a menu.
Yeah, we do. Okay, we can definitely make that a. Definitely make that a.
And it keeps you hydrated all day because of the water. So like, we're really helping everyone out here, especially when you're thinking of going around somewhere like a World Showcase and you're hitting every single place. How do you navigate the day, we'll say, in a safe manner when you are trying to look at experiencing everything that Disney and drinking at Disney has to offer, I'll say?
First off, Uber's your friend.
Yes.
Uber's your friend. I don't know how you would even do this back in the pre-Uber days because it would be very challenging.
Yeah.
But especially unless you're staying on property, or unless you're staying on property. So, but if you're talking about going to sort of as far as what do you mean exactly?
Well, I mean, there is a thing that, and we do want people to be able to enjoy their vacation in a safe manner. But when you have these giant, you got bachelorette parties, you got people, especially at World Showcase, that are going, hey, listen, man, drink around the world. We've got a passport you can buy on Etsy. We've got a shirt you can buy online and check it off, which I totally understand the thoughts around it and the fun around having it. Right. But we do want people to do it responsibly and safe in a manner.
And honestly, the biggest thing I say is, it sounds kind of silly, but stay away from like the gimmicks, the drinking games. I think that people always say what I've never been a fan of drinking games of any kind, really. for that reason, because everybody's got their own tolerance,
Yeah.
everybody's got their own speed, and sort of people's always we talk a lot about Magic Kingdom ever getting alcohol, and I think that is honestly the biggest problem with Magic Kingdom ever having actually full carte blanche alcohol is immediately there will be challenges,
Yeah.
and Epcot's always had that thing where it closed at 9, maybe 10,
Yeah.
Right.
which is really perfect.
Yes.
Because everybody's just, but the second it's about to get like out of control, it shuts down.
Yes.
Magic Kingdom half the time's open till 11, midnight.
Yeah.
Right.
Could you imagine? So to me, that's the biggest drawback when we talk about it for real is some idiot's going to do some kind of 3 mountain, 3 beer channel. I don't know, whatever,
Right.
you know, some kind of drinking game. So my thing is always that. Any kind of like rules, or we're going to check off one per country, or you got to chug before you leave this country. I'm never a fan of that. I'm just like, you go at whatever your regular pace is.
Yeah.
So what? So you're still drinking your Mexico drink when you're in Germany. So
That's
what?
okay.
Who
Right.
cares?
Yeah.
I mean, the ones in Norway sucks anyways.
Right.
So,
Nice.
what are you gonna get? Like, oh god, I gotta get something in Norway. Not really. Norway sucks. Why would you get something? I'm that person. I'm like, why would I get something in Norway that I don't want to get?
Right.
It's literally garbage. Everything that they offer, other than the Viking coffee. The Viking coffee is good. But
Okay.
most days, what am I gonna get? A coffee at 5 in the afternoon when
Right.
it's 300 degrees out?
Right. Yeah. That's not
So
gonna work
have
as well.
you tried things, unfortunately, that you're like, oh yeah, that was absolutely horrible?
Oh, absolutely. Most of the stuff, anything that's super sweet. I mean, a lot of the stuff at Epcot, a lot of the favorites, I'm not really that big of a fan of. Like the Schaffenhofers, it's not good. I don't like that, the grapefruit beer. It's so sticky. I don't know if you ever, like, for some reason, I've always noticed that by the time I get done,
point.
my hand is like stuck to the cup. Because not that I'm like spitting all over the place, but it just starts, a little bit drips down the side, and then pretty soon my hand is super sticky. Well, that's not appealing to me. Why is it so sticky? I
That's
don't
a
know.
good point. That's a
I don't
good
know if you
point.
ever noticed that.
No, it used to be one of my favorites, and
Yeah.
again, we switched away. I switched away pretty much from beer. I know I have, I guess, one of my hot takes that I'm sure I've shared with you is that I think Lapus are overrated. I've
Whoa,
said it, and I
wow.
hate saying it in front of you and to
Wow.
your face, because
Okay.
I adore you. You're awesome, but
Okay.
I think I go down to price versus quantity.
Right. And I will completely understand where you're coming from. And here's, but I'm going to come from my perspective.
Okay,
Why it's the
I love
best
it.
drink.
Okay, here we go.
First off, I'm going to go back to what I said before. I can buy, Myers dark rum anywhere. I can buy pineapple juice anywhere. I can buy a pineapple anywhere. But you put all that together at the Tambu Lounge,
Yeah.
at the Polynesian, on the Seven Seas Lagoon, with the castle in the background, with the music playing, it's the best vacation drink at Walt Disney World.
Oh yeah,
And
he
it's
just
all those factors.
he just totally yep.
All right, I want
He
one.
just blew you out of the water.
And that's what it is.
I'm sold now.
And that's why
Yeah.
the Lapu Lapu is the greatest drink. And because
Absolutely.
when I get one, I tend to, as you can probably imagine, walk around the resort and take pictures with it.
Yep.
And you know how it is. 15 people are going to be like, "Where'd you get that?"
Right.
And I always tell them it's vacation it's vacation in your hand. I mean, because nothing says vacation like drinking out of a pineapple.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
man.
So it's the, it just says, it screams vacation. So by that point, technically you're probably right. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you that it's a little too sweet. It's probably, it leaks a lot.
Yeah.
It leaks a lot. that darn pineapple is just all over your hand. And it's $18 or whatever for the one drink, but it's vacation in your hand, man.
I mean, do you have a shirt line yet that says Lapu Lapu vacation in your
Vacation.
hand? Because if not,
We need
I'm thinking we could
we'll add
could work on one.
We'll-
Let's
we'll
work on
it,
Let's work
definitely.
on one of those. With one of the things that I think goes normally, I feel like it's the other way around. So I'm going to work backwards in a sense, or reverse. A lot of times you look at maybe sites or books or whatever recommendations that are based on food, and then they pair a drink with it. Do you pair backwards where you think, you know what, I'm getting a Lapu Lapu or a back scratcher at Tambu. What food item will best go with this? Is that something you guys have thought about and whatever maybe develop into future copies
That's
of your
a good
book?
idea. No, we typically don't. I've never really thought that way. No, but that is actually a good idea. The pairings, because people really do like
Yeah.
that
Mm-hmm.
to go through that. No, that's a good idea though.
I mean, I'm willing to try some food
Yeah,
for you. I
exactly.
Can let you know what I
I'm
find
thinking
out.
now I want that lapu lapu, and then also have the some wings
Oh,
with
yeah.
it.
Yeah. And when you talk about ultimate
Is
pairings and stuff,
is the boat coming?
I was going to
Did
say,
see
where is
coming around the bend?
it? we can carry this on board. I'm sure they've got electric on there, right? Let's talk real quick about Twitter.
Yeah,
And the fact you had to start over,
yeah,
which to me is still bonkers.
it really is.
I'm so sorry for
Yeah,
that too.
no, it's
What?
funny. I've never actually talked about this before.
What? I mean, if you don't mind.
No, absolutely.
Because it absolutely fascinates me because I think it's such a ridiculous thing.
It fascinated me as well. And it actually is. It's going to bring out more than you probably anticipated because, as much as I started Twitter with, drunk at Disney on the beach at the Polynesian, because that's what I want to talk about, and that was in 2013.
Wow.
So, by the time last year rolled around, mid-pandemic, anyways, I'll get to that later. Well, I'll tell you sort of what happened. I'll just say exactly what happened. So I'm sitting at a Mexican restaurant at the bar waiting for a youth softball or a volleyball practice to get over. And I'm just sitting there tweeting, and there was a joke about something about Miss Piggy meet and greet, and Rhiannon's liver had made a joke about it. And I'd always used that gif of Michael Scott from The Office where he whispers to Toby, "I'll kill you."
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I had a couple drinks, I'm just like, oh, sure, I just wrote, I'll kill you, and did not think anything of it. And then literally within 2 minutes, it's just frozen. Nothing's there anymore.
Seriously?
Seriously.
That
just
quickly?
Immediately.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, what the heck? And I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. I'm like, huh? That's weird. And, it goes down every once in a while. And finally I realized, like, oh my gosh, I really just got suspended, which I'm like, this will be kind of funny. And then, you actually do appeal it. It took forever because this was in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
Trump.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting suspended. Trump suspended.
Right.
Like literally, like
They've got a couple accounts to look at.
Like literally, literally the president's suspended. They're like, so
Oh my goodness.
Twitter's going there. So it took forever.
So do you think we were above him or below him as far as your
Some
appeal went?
apparently below because
apparently,
it took
yeah.
forever to get a
Jeez.
response. And really, the response was just no. I wrote the whole story. Kind of what happened.
That is insane.
Because I would have liked to have reopened it, obviously,
For sure.
And they wrote back, no, that's what you said. Yeah, well, basically that was the response.
Right.
Like that's what I don't see what you're saying.
And a
Like, you
Michael
wrote
Scott
that.
gift to one of your best friends.
Right. So anyway,
Wow.
now from where I was getting to before was one of the things I was looking to do anyways was to sort of get away from, because I am a dad. I go walk around the parks with friends, and once they get a little older, it's not that great when people go, "Are you drunk at Disney?" I'm like, well,
Not right this moment.
Right.
Like, right. That was always the answer.
Yeah.
Not right now, or kind of, whatever. But I kind of was looking at that's not the way I wanted to do it, though.
Yeah.
It definitely is not the way I wanted to do it.
Totally
I
understand
was
that.
looking to shift to the more, just a different angle a little bit.
Yeah.
Not totally, obviously, but that's obviously not the way I wanted to do it. But it was a means to an end in the end, because anyways, I probably would have shifted away from that sort of angle anyway.
Right.
But that really was not the fun way to do it.
Yeah. No, that's interesting to me because what you have done and you have shifted so well, and I'm pretty sure you own some sort of teleportation device because when you are in the parks, you are everywhere, and not just in a single park, but throughout resort property. And it's such a great follow to watch you go from place to place and navigate the parks in a certain way. And like you said, the biggest thing with even if you are drinking at Disney is to navigate.
Yeah.
What is the most time efficient to get from one place to another?
Right.
What type of transportation are you taking? Those types of things.
Mhm.
So the fact that you're doing it on a level outside of that now, which again was first doing research and kind of being more on the drinking factor, I think is so great for anybody that's looking to vacation here or does day trips or APs and anything like that. So you've really, I think, covered all the bases now, and it's coming back almost like full circle, I would imagine.
No, I do think so, and that's really what I wanted to do. In is, Drunky took on a life of his own of just sort of, sort of like the people that didn't really follow that much was just like, it was kind of like joking, like, well, how drunk do you want me to get? You know, like, I don't know. Like at some point there's a little bit of a limit to what you can do. Of
course.
So yeah, I was like, what really do I really do here? And I really was thinking, what do I really do around town? And that's just really focus on relaxing, leisure. And Outer Rim Jim, good friend of mine, ours, everybody probably knows Outer Rim Jim, called it once a walkabout.
Okay.
What you just described, which was walking about from place. I go, that's it, man. That is exactly what a day that I do consists of. And because that's my favorite part about Walt Disney World. That's what makes, because I'm a champion of Walt Disney World, usually tongue in cheek over like say Disneyland or Universal, because of the ability to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can literally start off at Fort Wilderness, then you're going to be at, the Eastern Seaboard over at the Boardwalk, and then you're going to be over at the top of the world at so many different places, and making that happen. So I do like, those are my favorite ways to post about Disney World, is just sort of being everywhere. And I just have a blast doing that.
It's so cool to follow. Yeah. I want to do one of those days with you sometime. I'm just inviting myself right now.
Sure.
I'll come down on a day trip or something, and just we'll just hang out and walk.
Do you
around
walk
and all
about Universal?
Yes, I love Disney. I love Universal walkabouts. Their resorts, the Garden Walk. I talk with Derek about it all the time. Derek Bergen is that the Garden Walk is just so great, and it connects all the resorts and City Walk.
Oh wow!
So you can start really at Cabana Bay and walk all the way to Portofino Bay, and make a whole afternoon of it.
Wow!
Stopping at all the resorts, and then also
That's
throw
awesome.
a boat ride in there.
Right.
So I do absolutely like walking about there as well.
I took from you the other day when I was there, and I was going back. I was supposed to go back to Aventura. And I'm walking. I'm like, I'm going to walk to the bus. And I look down. I'm like, there's a boat.
Yeah.
It's going to Sapphire Falls. I'm like, yeah, what would Professor Daniel Miller do? He's going to get on that boat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's going to go to Strongwater Tavern.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's what I did.
Yep.
And then from there, I walked back to Aventura.
Now, did you? Oh, for Aventura. Oh,
Yes.
so you're good. You don't have to cross the road.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. So went straight from Sapphire Falls, walked down to Aventura, and I was like, I get it. Because, I think one of the things, and again, what I think you're so good at, and of course, the family that's here and is going, all right, we've got, this many days, and we've got these plans and these parks. I understand it can be hard to sometimes relax or take a boat you're not supposed to take. It's much more easier for locals or people that, I mean, we're semi-local. We're still here every month, so I consider us kind of local.
I call it regional.
Regional. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like
that's
that.
that's
Okay.
good.
Yeah,
Oh,
regional.
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
But for those other families, I want them to say, you know what? Let's take one day and let's do a walkabout. Let's take one day and just not have a plan and
Or
kind of
half a
let the plan develop itself. Do you have any kind of tips for those run and gun families?
Absolutely.
To help them out.
My tip, and this is what if somebody really wants some advice, what I start with, and start every day at the Magic Kingdom. Like, don't pick a day. Start every day, because that place is the best.
Yeah.
From 9 to 11.
Oh yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And maybe when they have a night fireworks, you come in one time at night. But I say start every day at the Magic Kingdom. 'Cause
Okay.
if there's a place to rope drop, it's there. You don't need to
Wow.
rope drop Hollywood Studios. I mean, unless you maybe one day, obviously, if you want to ride a specific ride,
Right.
like do Rise Resistance or whatever. But most days, just start the day at Magic Kingdom, and then wander your way to your second park.
Yeah.
And if you did that, say, if you're here 4 days, you could probably hit half the resorts on property, get awesome lunches,
Wow.
get some really cool resort bars on the way, and you've then done every single thing you would have done before. Just you would hit more, and you're going to hit more things at Magic Kingdom, because those first 2 hours you can make some massive hay.
Oh yeah.
At
That's
the
awesome.
Magic Kingdom. You
Yeah.
can't do that as much as the other parks.
No.
I don't think you make as much progress. But Magic Kingdom, man, those first 2 hours are magic.
Yeah.
And
That's
so,
awesome.
Maybe not every day, but you start, how about if you have 4 days? 3 out of the 4 days, start at Magic Kingdom. And then 11 o'clock, maybe pick 4 different resorts. One day you hit this one, you're going to hit 4 different places. That's the if somebody's really going to listen to some advice, that's what I would offer. And you're going to get a better lunch out of it, because you're going to get a lunch at one of the resorts. I prefer resort restaurants over theme park restaurants
Yeah.
on almost
yeah.
every example.
I can agree
can't
with
think of
that.
too many examples where I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
So you're going to get a lunch at multiple resorts you're probably not staying at, and experience places you're not going to go for any other reason, because unless you're going to stay at Caribbean Beach, you're probably not going to just go there,
right?
Unless you make yourself go there, and that's
Right.
what you would do. So
that's a great idea. All right, let's do some kind of rapid fire type thoughts on some of your favorite things. Get some in your brain. Do you have one?
I've already had
All right.
one.
Oh,
Is
good.
What's your favorite? All right, go
Lapu
for it.
Lapu your favorite, or what's your favorite drink?
absolutely, Lapu Lapu will always be my favorite drink unless something comes up, because of, just like I said, it's
Okay.
the whole package
Right.
of the place. My favorite place in Disney is the Polynesian, and a pineapple, the whole thing.
Awesome.
Second to that would be, it's at Jock Lindsay's, the Bam's Barnstormer, also called the Dark and Tropical Stormy at Trader Sam's.
Okay.
Nice.
So it's just a simple drink. It's the Dark and Stormy.
Yep.
So that would be again, that's nothing special to Walt Disney World, but it is in that where you get it.
The
It's
location.
pretty darn cool.
Exactly.
Trader Sam's and
Yes.
Jock Lindsay's. So that would be my other favorite as far as cocktails.
Nice.
Those two.
Awesome.
Favorite current resort? Is it Poly? Right now?
Polynesian, but I've always said that, but I'm not paying to stay there typically.
Right.
So I take that out of the.
Okay,
I mean, dude,
that's
at
fair.
$500 a night or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't know, whatever it would be, just X number of dollars. So I go for full, taking everything into account, Port Orleans French Quarter.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
You're talking
Yeah.
the price. It's got the feel of a deluxe. I mean, it's just the relaxed nature of the grounds, and then you can walk over if you want to do Bob Jackson. Now he's back, so
Yes.
you got entertainment.
Yep.
All right there. The only thing that's really coming to change that is the Skyliner. So Caribbean Beach has really jumped up, but man, I still gonna go with Port Orleans French Quarter.
How often do you stay on property? Just to go, hey, let's stay a night or something.
Just once a year, typically
year?
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we also, my wife's in the hotel industry, so we have points at,
Oh, okay.
and
Oh, yeah,
discounts
that
and
makes so
other-
much sense.
With the
Is it-
points off property.
Is it weird staying off property, like at those places that your wife has?
No, I love
Nice.
it. 'Cause
Nice.
I love vacation everywhere. So,
Nice.
And I've even really started to really enjoy the Disney Springs resorts.
Yes.
I mean, it's when you start looking at the price versus what you get.
Yep.
Nomad Lounger, Steve,
Yes.
another great friend. He stays always at the Wyndham.
Yes.
The Wyndham,
Yes,
right there.
I've heard such
Sorry.
good things about it there.
Wyndham, Lake Buena Vista. And they're such a great location, such a great property. Going back to what you asked earlier, where I think our best chance to get you a drink on the menu might be there.
Okay. I've been looking at those, and we want to stay there real bad because I've heard great things. And
Yeah.
follow them on social, and they're just so wonderful.
Yeah.
We finally did the Holiday Inn the other
Yep.
weekend there, which I was actually really impressed by.
So I think our best shot at getting you a drink
all
on
right.
the menu is going to be on Hotel
Okay.
Plaza Boulevard.
All right,
Which-
we're gonna
Okay.
start a
You know,
campaign.
it's on property.
I'm
Yeah.
down.
So
I'm down.
I've always loved that idea because, if you have listeners that want to hang out, why don't you come over here, start there, have one
Yeah.
of our drinks, then make from there. Again, what a cool opportunity.
Yeah.
So cool.
What's your favorite mode of transportation throughout Disney?
I mean, obviously, like most people, forever it was the monorail.
Yep.
Because it's just so cool.
Yeah.
But that Skyliner,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
The Skyliner is the biggest game changer, to me, biggest game changer at this resort ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's changed
Yeah.
my touring plans, for lack of a better term, have changed completely because of the Skyliner.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I wanted to just, when you live close and you think, in your head, you don't know what you're going to do. I'm going to Disney. You just
Yeah.
say that. I'm going to Disney. So there's no better place now to start as your home base than like Hollywood Studios,
Yeah.
because you can just hop on the Skyliner and be in that whole area
Yes.
is connected via Skyliner from one location. So now it's Skyliner. It's just my favorite thing, and it's game changer.
What constitutes a bar for you and for the book? And specifically, I think of two of the most recent, which would be Three Bridges, which has bar in its
Yeah.
name, Bar and Grill,
Right.
and Bar Riva.
Yeah.
Both have bar in their name, but I feel like they have a much different feel as far as a sit-down style
Yeah.
atmosphere, especially a Three Bridges. Is
Yeah.
a Three Bridges do you consider it
Of
a
course. Yeah,
bar
absolutely.
/ lounge, or is it a restaurant? And is there a difference?
I would say there's good man. You really are bringing up some interesting points because it really did. So yes, to answer your question, yes, we're considering it a bar.
Okay.
Because there is a bar.
Yep.
The worst offender of this, according to Rhiannon, is Crockett's Tavern.
Yeah.
Because it is literally just the bar. It's got its own name, but it's the bar for the restaurant.
Right. For
Right.
Trails Inn. Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm just using that as the sort of the worst offender of this bar / restaurant thing. And but I'd say 100% that Three Bridges would be a bar. But as great as it is, I don't necessarily think I'd pick it as a destination. You know, like am I gonna hang? Well, maybe I would. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
It's tough.
All right. Hey, we'll take you there one time, and we'll change your
I love
mind.
it,
It's
yeah.
obviously our anybody that's ever listened to us. It's one of our favorite spots on property for sure.
So would you agree that if I've made this claim, if they can put Coronado Springs on the Skyliner,
Biggest game
best
changer
resort
ever
on property,
on
probably.
property.
Absolutely.
Agree 100%.
1,000%.
That's the only thing holding it back now.
Yes.
is
Yes.
transportation.
Yes.
It's the only thing.
Completely.
Yep.
It's I mean, you put that on the Skyliner, and then you even then connect that through to Animal Kingdom Lodge, because they're right around
Yeah.
the corner. I think it changes everything. I mean, it's our favorite resort. It's our favorite bar.
Yeah.
Three Bridges. We love everything about that place, but you do that because it is hard to get to.
Yeah.
You know, you really
Yeah.
got to kind of go out of your way, or you've got to
Yeah.
hop in an Uber or get on a transportation bus
Right.
from, one of the parks back to that resort, and then
Right.
figure out how the heck you're getting back somewhere else.
Right.
But
You have to really plan to get that in. And obviously, if I was giving some advice, I would do that as part of what we talked about earlier. You know, maybe start at the Magic Kingdom, lunch there, then
Yep.
move on to. But man, if that Skyliner was there,
Oh,
no
yeah.
brainer.
Yes.
changes everything.
Yep. I agree.
What's your favorite place to visit outside of Florida?
Two places. Well, several. I'm going to go with Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Love Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Nashville has become probably one of my favorite places.
You were just there recently, right?
Yeah, we were just
Yeah.
there a couple weeks ago. It's like the Disney World for people like me. I mean, that outside of Disney World. I mean, it's literally like there's 4-story bars with bands on every. It's
Wow.
awesome. It's just
Wow.
like it's just a great place.
That's awesome.
And, I would say Vegas, but I've kind of gotten out of Vegas. So those two
Yeah.
plays. And shocker, out of left field, St. Louis.
Okay.
Great town.
Okay.
Nice.
Great town. Fun place to hang out. So St. Louis is up there too. My top 5.
So if they built a extension to Epcot then, and they had a U.S. showcase instead of World Showcase, those are your spots.
Oh man,
Right? We
absolutely.
can do
You'd
that?
have to have a Nashville because
Yeah.
you'd have the country
That'd be
bands
so
playing.
good.
You'd have
That'd be
St.
cool.
Louis would be cool.
Yeah.
And then I mean, obviously, you could be sponsored by Anheuser-Busch.
There you
you'd have
go. There you go.
oh my gosh, this is coming together great.
That would be perfect.
Walt was already going to put a Disney location in St. Louis.
In St. Louis,
so
right?
it's, again, no brainer.
Yeah.
And then Washington D.C. I mean, it's just that it's such a cool place in general.
I think one of my other thoughts, and I just like to get your opinion. What do you think of the American Pavilion? Is this a yay or nay for you? What would you like to? What do you think could possibly improve it, or do you love the way the American Pavilion is?
They've already done what I said would improve it, and that's the restaurant.
Okay. Yep.
For years,
Yeah.
I would go to any festival and they would have the barbecue set up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yep.
like, what the heck are we doing serving this garbage in the
Yeah.
restaurant when they have this great barbecue
Yep.
out here? And then they added potentially the best drinks in Epcot at Regal Eagle
Mhm.
and good food that is American barbecue. And I love the American Adventure. It is
It is
exactly where I learned to bring a Tervis tumbler into the park, or a tumbler, is because I wanted to bring a beer into the show because I just want to sit back,
Yeah.
watch American Adventure, and drink a beer. I don't think that's too much to ask, but I would for years I would I'd be wearing a jacket. I'd like
You put the sleeve over it.
Yep.
Yep.
Or I'd try to balance it in the zipper pocket, and I would walk as quietly as possible. And I'm like, well, this is stupid. Why do we even have to do this? This doesn't make any sense. Like,
That's
why is this
awesome.
I know.
not a place that has beer allowed? It doesn't make
Just
any
have it
sense.
have a bar right.
It doesn't make
inside.
any sense. Or why stop? I don't know. Anyways, but the TFresh tumbler was invented, from my perspective, because of American Adventure.
That's awesome.
And it's a lengthy show.
Yeah.
Like, we need something there.
Right.
You can do it if you go to the theater and you got bands playing, or you've got
Yeah.
whatever going on. You can carry ones down.
Or
So
any theater in the country. You go to
Right.
see a show,
Yep.
there's a bar, and you sit down, and again, you don't need it, but I mean, I'm at Epcot. I'm on a day off. Let me
Right.
just have a beer while I watch American Adventure.
I'm totally with you there. Well, man, this has been incredible. This has been so much fun. I'm so glad we got to like connect and all
too.
and sit down, and especially here. Now the sun's getting ready to set, way too early. But
Oh, I hate it.
anything you want to add? Any additional thoughts? Because you've shared a wealth of wonderful and fun educational knowledge on how you navigate the parks, and you get to have some good drinks while you're doing it. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, and that's sort of where, sort of, like you brought up the sort of drunkie's death, which it might have been timely. I look back, it might have been timely, but it's sort of the evolution of that, where that's just part of the experience rather than the focus, which is sort of where we've come with that.
Yeah.
And no, I just think it really is interesting now. We are sort of after the shutdown, so this new, who knows what things are going to look like moving forward.
I know.
Yeah.
There's so many things that are still in limbo.
Yep.
And how many of these changes are because of the shutdown versus what's going to happen? Like, for example, my biggest concern, I'm going to tell you a concern moving forward, is we went to Epcot, and like you go into Rose and Crown, and I get it.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're still in pandemic mode. You walk into Rose and Crown, it's a to-go window now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you go into the Vine Keller, which has always been another one of my favorite spots, to-go window.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I understand it's not a complaint,
Yeah.
but it's a concern moving forward.
Right.
That is this because of the pandemic, or are we in an area where we're taking away some of our favorite places?
Right.
So that's my concern moving forward, is that we have lost a few of my favorite places and experiences, and I'm hoping it's a pandemic thing, not
Yes.
a moving forward
Yeah.
thing.
I agree.
And I think that's one of the most interesting things about it. Like, when you look at things like Genie Plus, you look at a lot of these. Same thing. I don't know how many are a product of the pandemic compared to an excuse
Right.
from the pandemic.
Right.
Because you're right. There could have been one point where they thought, you know what? There's people hanging out at Rose and Crown a lot,
Yeah.
and they're not spending as much if you just get people through
Yeah.
again and again to go.
100%.
And so does it change? Same thing. I mean, we knew paid Fast Pass was coming.
Yeah. Right.
But they didn't really have a reason to rip the Band-Aid without complete backlash. Now they did. So it's really interesting. I agree. I
And
think the
La
next
Cava
couple
kind of
years.
the same way. Like,
Yeah.
La Cava, are we going to do? I haven't been there in the last couple of weeks, but are they still? I don't know if they're still doing the where you walk through again, like a to-go window.
Right,
I
right.
think they are.
Yeah.
So add it to the list of things that, man, or is this? I don't know. Yeah, is it the excuse, or is it
Right.
I'm really hoping that
I
it's
hope stuff's coming back.
that it's a.
I mean, we visited Rose and Crown during the, I think, 2 weeks that it was back to
Yes.
normal. We
And it was amazing.
We sat at a
Right.
table
amazing.
with
It's
people
amazing.
we didn't know.
Yeah.
And then we went back like 2 weeks later and it was like, nope. In and out.
So
Get
that
out
gives
of
me
here.
hope.
Yeah. I
Because
hope
you're
so,
right. There
too.
was that really small window
Yes.
when they were like, "We're back," and then
Right.
whoa, hang on, we're not so
Yep.
back. We're not
Oh,
back
well,
so much.
Not a good idea
We're
right
not back
now.
so much.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping. So I really stay away from, on Twitter there's a lot of doom and gloom, and as much as there are some things that I'm not super thrilled about, but try to stay away from the doom and gloom, hoping that
Yeah.
there are, that the sort of the market will require these things.
For
I'm
sure.
hoping,
Yeah.
So
All right. I do have one last question
yeah.
before we wrap up. What is maybe one of your favorite kind of, I'd call it an extracurricular activity as far as having some good drinks and experiences go, be it a dessert party, a dining package, fireworks, something, or maybe right behind us here, pontoon boats and firework cruise type stuff. What's one of your favorite extra paid kind of things to do?
That's always been my favorite thing, the boats. I mean,
Oh.
and anything that's on the water
Amazing.
is absolutely my
Yeah.
favorite. Whether it's during the day and you're just renting a boat yourself, where I'm using air quotes here, alcohol's not allowed,
Right.
but for the evening, and now they're doing the one on the big ship as well.
Yeah, that's
where They're
right.
doing the fireworks from there. So I would say I've had the opportunity once with some friends, even pre Twitter, to do on the Grand One yacht fireworks from the Grand One yacht.
Oh,
So
wow.
anything on the water is always
That's
my
awesome.
favorite. Those boats, cruises are always the best.
Oh.
Because again, you're in your own.
Yeah.
It's just the coolest.
It really, really
Yeah.
is. Yeah, give me a boat any day.
Yeah.
I'm not getting in the
I agree.
water, but I like the boat portion of it.
Absolutely.
I saw people. I was walking around looking for spotting locations for us to record, and they were doing the canoe or the kayaks. And I was like, man, that looks like so much fun. But the last time I did that with our
You'd fall
daughter, who
over.
was like,
Oh, did
what,
you?
5 at the time? We were in the Keys, so luckily the
Yeah,
water
oh,
was
okay,
clear.
there.
I dumped her in twice.
No, but you were in the canal, so it
We were
was
in the
not
canal, so it was a
clear,
little
and there's
darker.
manatees
Yeah.
all underneath.
She's freaking out. I can't keep my big top body balance.
Yeah.
And so I dump us, and she's crying, and I get her up in, and I flip it back. I get in. I'm not kidding. 20 seconds later, I dump us again because I could not get my bearing, and then we got out of there.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine being dumped in this water.
I have canoed here, and it's awesome.
Is it?
Fort Wilderness is just so great on its own.
So much
We
to
could
do.
do a whole show just on Fort
Oh,
Wilderness.
100%.
And I'm just so glad they're still doing it after
I know.
Yeah.
you know, when they put up all the fences everywhere because of wildlife.
Yep.
I was so happy that they kept the canoeing because it's such those kinds of activities. All this what you're saying is I harken back to my favorite thing is just always the vacation kingdom of the world.
Yeah.
There's 4 theme parks, but like the vacation kingdom of the world is what Disneyland doesn't have. It's what Universal doesn't have, and it's why I like it here. Is this hanging out on a lake where potentially we could go out on one of these boats,
Yeah.
and things like that. Like those, that to me is what makes this place special over everywhere else.
Boom. That's it. That Lapu Lapu vacation in your hand. Coming soon to an online store near you. Professor Daniel Miller, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us. We would love to touch base again very soon in the future. Do some hanging out in the parks or something together, but really appreciate your time coming out, man.
Absolutely. Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
me. This has been a blast. So I love talking Disney.
We'll do it again soon. Well, there you have it, guys. What an absolute blast that was. Cannot wait to talk to Daniel again in the future. Have him on for, maybe some more in-tuned episodes, like, top 5 spots to grab a drink at the poolside or in a resort or something like that. So cannot wait to connect with him again very soon. But we have to thank you guys so much for listening. We truly appreciate it. If you have not hit that subscribe button, go ahead for brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. And we do plan in the new year, 2022, as it starts to arrive, have a lot more sit-downs, conversations, interviews like this one and some of the others that we have done over this past year. While you're out on the internet doing all that subscribing, it would be wonderful if you could also leave us a rating and review, because if Rhonda was here, she would say that's how our show grows. We appreciate you guys so much, and we will see you real soon.
Jeremy and Rhonda
And Daniel Miller.
are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.